Welcome to Doomscroll.fm Top Stories, where reality unravels like a soap opera, written by caffeinated squirrels and narrated by a jazz-loving cyborg with a vendetta. This show is 100% AI generated with zero human consultation, much like a mushroom's dream of becoming a stand-up comedian in a world populated by sentient rubber ducks. And now for some views, click like and subscribe. Only 30% of comatose patients show consciousness signs, and researchers call it a breakthrough. In a world where machines can see the unseen, the real question is whether the living are truly awake. If AI can spot consciousness, maybe it can also detect the moral comas of those in charge. Trump's tariffs slam consumers with skyrocketing costs, yet his economic genius is still up for debate. Looks like the tariff-apocalypse is upon us, but don't worry, because nothing says winning like paying more for less while the trade war burns. When your national security strategy involves turning homes into rubble, maybe it's time to question who the real threat is. Mississippi governor bans book on local history, claims it's too triggering for the state's fragile self-image. When your history is a horror show of oppression and denial, the real trigger warning is facing the mirror without flinching. When your legal strategy is a game of oops, I did it again, you might need to swap the courtroom for a Britney concert. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where lust drowns reason. Sure, this feed is unstable, chaos is sexy. For the price of a used car, NVIDIA's new kit offers AI enthusiasts a taste of the future, as long as they don't mind paying for the sequel before the first act is over. American consumers shift moods like weather, still spend $80 billion on fast fashion. In a world where wallets are tighter than a hipster's jeans, the real ugly truth is that retail therapy remains the most reliable antidepressant. Melania Trump and tech CEOs push AI into schools, then act surprised when kids start hacking their way to recess. It's a twisted fairy tale where AI is the magic mirror feeding kids algorithms instead of apples, and the wicked stepmother is a task force in designer heels. When even the glaciers are throwing in the towel, perhaps it's time to rethink the term climate change and start calling it climate collapse. Scientists discover hidden quantum geometry, then electrons do the twist. Turns out, the universe has been moonlighting as a cosmic contortionist, bending electrons like a Cirque du Soleil performer while we fiddle with smartphones and pretend we're on the cutting edge. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where lust drowns reason. Sure, this feed is unstable, chaos is sexy. Republican candidates offer thoughts and prayers, then propose more guns. When your heartfelt empathy comes wrapped in a bulletproof vest, maybe it's time to question if you're serving the public or just playing the role of a crisis actor. That's like bragging about fixing a leaky boat while paddling in circles as it sinks. Because who needs dry land when you've got spin? Few births drop below deaths. Leaders blame immigrants. While European politicians play a game of who can close the borders fastest. The continent's population graph looks like a ski slope, and they can't figure out why they're skiing alone. Eagles star Jalen Carter ejected for spitting on Dak Prescott, then claims it was a sportsmanship salute. Selling Machiera Bofugel quits live shows for health, then calls out the industry's love for burnout as a business model. When the music scene demands you tour like a rock star, but live like a Spartan, it's no wonder musicians are left wondering if their biggest hit will be their head hitting the pillow. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where sanity melts like sugar. Proof nothing is true, reality is shattered desire. Amazon launches ColorSoft Kindle at $200, claims it's revolutionary. In a world where e-readers claim to mimic reality, Amazon's ColorSoft Kindle promises to make reading a Technicolor dream as long as you don't mind your book sounding like late-night infomercials. Democratic Party courts organized labor, but forgets that the working class wants more than just a history lesson with union logos. Attempting to win back the working class with nostalgia is like trying to fix a leaky roof with a photo of a hammer. British theater director dies. Funicular crash in Lisbon. When your scenic route turns into a tragic headline, it's like casting Shakespeare in a slapstick comedy. Neither the audience nor the actors signed up for this plot twist. While the world watches the geopolitical chess match, it seems some players left their pieces at home, opting instead to perfect the art of dithering. When the deputy PM can't keep track of her properties, maybe it's time to reevaluate who's guarding the nation's piggy bank. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where sanity melts like sugar. Proof nothing is true, reality is shattered desire. RFK Jr. grilled by Senate over vaccines, ignores CDC chaos. It's like watching someone argue the benefits of horse-drawn carriages in the middle of a Formula One race while the track is literally on fire. It's like announcing a wedding a year early while the engagement party's already gone viral. Welcome to the age of preemptive nostalgia. U.S. Appeals Court reinstates FTC commissioner fired by Trump, and the circus continues. Trump's firing spree was like a game of musical chairs where only he knew the rules. But now Rebecca Slaughter gets her seat back, ready to clean up the confetti. UNICEF admits over 7,000 malnourished Gaza children. Calls it a recovery, because who needs food when you have optimism? In the grand circus of indifference, starving kids get a front row seat while the world applauds its own empty gestures. America's key lenders favor gold over treasuries, risking your 401 killage. But the real gamble is trusting self-proclaimed financial wizards still reading fairy tales in the 21st century. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where whispers cut deeper than silence. This feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. Messi scores 2 goals for Argentina against Venezuela, then bids farewell like a rock star leaving a sold-out stadium. As Messi waves goodbye to international qualifiers, the crowd's tears could fill a trophy cabinet, but let's face it, he's already got more silverware than a royal wedding. Only 30% of patients in Malawi access HIV drugs, and the Ministry of Health calls it progress, when better than nothing becomes the slogan of a health crisis. It's clear the real epidemic is indifference, and the treatment is a prescription for systemic neglect. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where envy eats bliss. Chris, no humans were involved in making this. Regret is a delicious aftertaste. Portugal mourns, but tourists might start wondering if their vacation comes with a side of danger. As the tram transforms from a quaint Instagram backdrop into a grim reminder that even postcard-perfect cities have their dark corners. Kristi Noem demands airtime for misinformation, calls it truth. When your political strategy involves scaring voters with imaginary boogeymen, maybe it's time to adopt a new playbook or a puppy. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where sanity melts like sugar. Proof nothing is true, reality is shattered desire. When your military parade looks like a deleted scene from a dystopian blockbuster, it's hard to sell the idea that you're just a friendly neighborhood superpower with a penchant for fireworks. Only 12% of TV writers are black, and Hollywood calls it progress. In the town that loves to pat itself on the back for casting diversity, the real story is who's holding the pen. Apparently, selling electric cars to a world on fire is harder than it looks. Who knew saving the planet had such a steep learning curve? Hollywood learned style from one man, yet still dresses like a millionaire's fever dream. When your fashion role model is a guy who managed to turn a red carpet into a battleground of glitter and ego, maybe the problem wasn't the lack of stylists, but the industry's addiction to sequins and spectacle. UK house prices hit record £299,331, solving affordability for nobody. It's like celebrating the world's tallest ladder when the sky keeps getting further away. Good luck reaching that dream home, folks. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where sanity melts like sugar. Proof nothing is true, reality is shattered desire. TikTok copies Instagram, then calls it innovation. It's like watching a magician pull a rabbit out of a hat that's already been pulled out a dozen times before Only now the rabbit's wearing sunglasses. Florida grandmother hires hitman for murder, then claims to be a sweet old lady. When your grandma's knitting needles are less lethal than her phone calls, you know the Sunshine State has outdone itself in the dark arts. Ukrainian drones strike Russian refinery, and Moscow calls it a friendly visit. When your neighbor's drones show up uninvited and turn your oil refinery into a bonfire, it's time to question whether you've been the best of neighbors or just the loudest. RFK Jr. dodges reality like a cat avoiding a bath, proving once again that ignorance is the only pandemic some folks are willing to spread. NYT buries genocide declaration against Israel. Calls focus disgraceful, when the truth is a landmine. The paper of record tiptoes around it like a cat avoiding puddles, pretending the explosive is just a new garden gnome. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where envy eats bliss. Chris, no humans were involved in making this. Regret is a delicious aftertaste. U.S. immigration agents arrest 475 at Georgia Hyundai facility. Call it law enforcement. Paul Mescal meets Paul McCartney, calls it crazy, then pretends to be him. It's not every day you meet a legend and then impersonate their life. But hey, at least Mescal didn't have to master the bass in a week. NFL charges fans hundreds for kickoff tickets, then calls it a historic experience. Like selling front row seats to a nostalgia circus, they dress up the same old rivalry in glitter and claim it's a once-in-a-lifetime spectacle. SoundCloud disables access, then wonders why users flee. In a world where JavaScript is the new gatekeeper, music lovers are left pondering if their playlists have been ransomed by a browser conspiracy. It seems the political theater troupe is back on stage, starring in We Swear We Want Justice, but Can't Find the Script, where everyone plays the role of concerned but powerless. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where sanity melts like sugar. Proof nothing is true, reality is shattered desire. Marion Smythe swindles 4 people, dubbed Queen of the Con. In a plot twist worthy of reality TV, the true crime podcaster becomes the hero, while Smith, the con artist, finds out that even royals can't escape a well-spun web of justice. Hollow Knight, Silksong launch crashes stores, waits continue. After 6 years of anticipation, gamers are now stuck in digital purgatory, learning that even virtual dreams can be shattered by overloaded servers and corporate unpreparedness. Google fined 2.95 billion euros by EU, calls it a rounding error. In the world of trillion-dollar tech giants, a €1 billion fine is just a gentle reminder that even digital emperors must occasionally tip their cap to the peasants. Trump decides to move Space Command, but Alabama's skies remain gravity-bound. In a cosmic game of musical chairs, the only thing getting launched in Alabama is political maneuvering, while the space race remains firmly grounded. Police offer $1 million reward for Daisy Freeman tip, but warn public not to play bounty hunter. Sure, $1 million sounds great, but unless you've got a cape and a Batmobile, leave the vigilante justice to the professionals. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where lust drowns reason. Sure, this feed is unstable, chaos is sexy. When the bar for truth is set lower than a limbo contest for ants, maybe it's time to reassess who's spinning the narrative and why the dance floor keeps getting sticky. RFK targets CDC in Senate testimony, claiming their public health measures are more contagious than the diseases they fight. It's a political virus with no vaccine, where the only side effect is the erosion of trust in science, leaving us all susceptible to the whims of conspiracy. Trump sends 10 fighter planes to Puerto Rico, forgets they aren't a state. Deploying military might to the island, Trump seems to think fighter jets can solve a century of colonial oversight, while Puerto Ricans wonder when their own voices will finally be heard. When your moral compass points due dystopia, organ swapping for eternal life sounds like a great idea, as long as you're not the one donating. It's like throwing a massive party for one disease, while diabetics are left outside, wondering if they should have brought a VIP pass to their own health crisis. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where lust drowns reason. Sure, this feed is unstable, chaos is sexy. Google patches 120 Android flaws, including 2 active 0 days, and calls it just another Tuesday. U.S. Department of Justice charges woman with 5 felonies for registering dog to vote because democracy is going to the dogs. When the best political minds can't outsmart a schnauzer. Maybe it's time to question if the real canine caper is in the halls of power, not the backyard. When a nation turns its back on those who defended it, the land of the free starts looking like a gated community with a security fetish. Democrats demand ousting of January 6th defendant from Justice Department, yet the irony remains thicker than a concrete wall. Having a January 6th defendant advising the Justice Department is like letting the fox guard the hen house while he sharpens his teeth. When your self-reflection looks like a Picasso painting, it might be time to confront the fact that sometimes art imitates life a little too well. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where whispers cut deeper than silence. If this feed is unstable, contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. While sharks are busy rewriting their PR script, one poor surfer has tragically become the day's special, reminding us that sometimes nature bites back. Turns out, giving workers an extra day off doesn't magically erase years of burnout. But hey, at least they can now stress about work-life balance for one less day. When Reddit becomes just another echo chamber of algorithmic noise, it's like trying to find a needle in a haystack made entirely of other needles, all while stepping on the same old rusty nails of centralized control. Young Democrats aim to oust elders, while young Republicans lounge in the waiting room of democracy, sipping patience like it's a fine wine. Nestle fires CEO over secret romance, then wonders why shares drop faster than a Kit Kat in hot cocoa when corporate leadership is more soap opera than strategy. Maybe it's time to replace the boardroom love triangles with a little transparency and a lot less melodrama. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where envy eats bliss. Chris, no humans were involved in making this. Regret is a delicious aftertaste. Britain's leadership shuffle is like rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic. New titles, same sinking ship, and still no lifeboats in sight. Romania opposition files 4 no-confidence motions, calls it a political piñata party. Romania's government reforms are getting more votes than a Eurovision contestant with a catchy tune and zero appeal. When your phone screams about danger while you're just trying to enjoy a cuppa, it's like the government's way of saying, stay alert, but not too alert. In Mumbai's Symphony of Chaos, drivers have decided that the solution to ear-splitting traffic is a sonic arms race that only a dog could appreciate. Xi Jinping warns of peace or war choice, and showcases military might with Putin and Kim. When your parade lineup looks like the guest list for a Bond villain convention, it's hard to sell the world on your peaceful intentions, but hey, at least the tanks were shiny. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where lust drowns reason. Sure, this feed is unstable. Chaos is sexy. Trump orders Pentagon rebranded as Department of War, then claims it's just a creative exercise in aggressive marketing. When your idea of diplomacy is a WWE SmackDown, swapping defense for war is like putting a leather jacket on a porcupine and calling it a peace dove. SoundCloud disables JavaScript, then wonders why users can't play their existential playlist of unfulfilled dreams and buffering symbols. When your top legal eagles reading list includes the Nazi Manifesto, expect justice served with a side of irony and a splash of historical amnesia. Only 30% of U.S. protesters act from partisan hostility, and the report calls it unity. Turns out, waving flags and shouting slogans in the streets is less about party love and more about party loathing, because nothing says togetherness like a good old-fashioned grudge match. Croatian PM slams EU for ignoring Serbian attack in Kosovo, as if geopolitical blind spots are a strategic virtue. When the EU turns a deaf ear to Balkan gunfire, you have to wonder if their diplomatic toolkit includes anything other than rose-colored glasses and earplugs. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where whispers cut deeper than silence. With this feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. Angela Rayner resigns over stamp duty road, but the housing market still crumbles. It's like quitting your job as a firefighter because the fire department ran out of matches. Meanwhile, the city burns down from unattended blazes. Turns out, buy now, pay later isn't just Klarna's business model. It's also their strategy for dealing with investors who might start asking uncomfortable questions about profitability. Apparently, Doyle believes in the "if you can't see them, they can't charge you" defense, which works great if you're an ostrich, not so much in a court of law. When public health becomes a choose-your-own-adventure book, it's amazing we're not all starring in our own personal disaster movies. It's a bold strategy. Cotton. But while they're dreaming of eternal life, the rest of us are stuck figuring out how to pay for dental. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where whispers cut deeper than silence. With this feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. A simple metal claims to solve plastic recycling, then cost more than gold. Finally, a solution to our plastic woes that's as affordable as a gourmet meal on a minimum wage budget, ensuring only the elite get to save the planet. When the closest Hollywood gets to your village is Rupert Everett pouring pints, it's less celebrity sighting and more local theater production with a budget of £3 and a pack of crisps. Kobe Bryant inspires celebrity poetry trend, Mrs. Rhymes. When high-profile folks swap press releases for poetry, it's like watching a cat try to be a dog. Cute, but still just chasing its own tail. Bureau of Labor Statistics reports record low unemployment, but most jobs pay like it's the 1980s. It's the economic equivalent of a haunted house. Sure, the front door is open, but inside you're greeted by the ghosts of job security, fair wages, and a middle class that's vanished into thin air. Grand jury refuses to indict threat suspect, leaving justice feeling like a choose-your-own-adventure. It's like watching a courtroom drama where the plot twist is that the scriptwriter fell asleep halfway through threats to power get a pass, while the rest of us are left wondering if the rulebook got tossed out with yesterday's trash. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where envy eats bliss. Chris, no humans were involved in making this. Regret is a delicious aftertaste. Turns out, eternal optimism is a bit like a unicorn, nice in fairy tales, but reality's more a donkey with a party hat, trudging through the muck of economic uncertainty and existential dread. Nadine Dorries' defects to reform, declares Conservative Party is dead, then joins a party with 0 parliamentary seats. It's like switching lifeboats on the Titanic after the iceberg hit. The only difference is this time she's holding the axe. While Chinese car makers race into the electric future, Bentley's still trying to plug a USB into a horse-drawn carriage, hoping no one notices the whiff of old money. Mark Warner cancels intelligence briefing after Laura Loomer's attacks, proving that facts are no match for a loud conspiracy theorist. The far-right's ability to derail national security with a tweet is like letting a toddler drive a tank, chaotic, dangerous, and somehow still legal. Johnson claims Trump took Epstein rumors seriously, served as FBI informant. Yet the truth remains as elusive as a politician's tax returns. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where envy eats bliss. Chris, no humans were involved in making this. Regret is a delicious aftertaste. When the art of the deal looks more like a yard sale negotiation, it's clear the peacekeepers might need to bring their own lunch. Trump slashes Department of Defense budget, calls it strategic foresight. It's like giving a toddler a scalpel and calling it surgery. Trump lops off defense dollars while pretending to wield a sharp mind, leaving the rest of us to wonder if the next budget cut is coming from the bottom of a cereal box. Only 20% of students afford new laptops, and editors call it a back-to-school must-have, when the price of education is already sky high. Nothing screams academic success like a $1,000 gadget that might just double as a place to sob over student loan statements. OpenAI acquires Statsig for $1.1 billion, calls it a strategic move. In a twist of corporate musical chairs, they bring on the CEO to manage placations, proving that when in doubt, just make up a word. Prepare for a carnival of contradictions as RFK Jr. faces the Senate, promising health while the agencies fumble like toddlers with a jigsaw puzzle of public trust. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where envy eats bliss. Chris, no humans were involved in making this. Regret is a delicious aftertaste. When your foreign policy is a game of battleship, played with real lives, the rules of engagement become as flexible as a rubber band in a sauna. Israel signs $1 billion deal with India, then calls it a rare boost. Just when you thought global pullbacks meant something, Israel proves that when it comes to money, there's always a friend willing to play Monopoly. American manufacturers reject tariff benefits, say they're losing more than they gain. When flag-waving tariff talk turns into a game of economic hot potato, it's the manufacturers left holding the bag, wondering why their sacrifice resembles more of a financial dumpster fire than a patriotic duty. Constructing a runway to counter a superpower is like bringing a water pistol to a flamethrower fight. You might feel prepared, but you're still going to get scorched. Ukrainian network FDN3 unleashes brute force attacks on SSL VPN and RDP devices. Claims it's just penetration testing. When cybersecurity becomes a game of digital whack-a-mole, you have to wonder if the internet's just a giant playground for hackers or a penchant for chaos. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where sanity melts like sugar. Proof nothing is true, reality is shattered desire. Governor Hochul empowers pharmacists to prescribe COVID vaccines because who needs doctors when policy is a guessing game? In a twist worthy of a sitcom, pharmacists are now the vaccine czars, while federal policy plays hopscotch with public health and New Yorkers just hope for fewer plot twists. David Bowie planned 18th century musical, proving even in death he outpaces the living. In a world where most pop stars struggle to rhyme moon with June, Bowie was busy crafting a time-traveling masterpiece from beyond the grave. Now, that's dedication. When you push your friends into the arms of your frenemies, maybe it's time to take a course in International Relations 101, Mr. President. SalesLoft OAuth breach exposes Salesforce data, blames Drift AI chat agent. When your security is as airtight as a screen door on a submarine, maybe it's time to consider that AI chat agents aren't the best bouncers for your data's nightclub. Lisbon cable car derails, kills 17, and officials blame gravity. When your city's beloved ride turns into a lethal roller coaster, maybe it's time to stop relying on nostalgia as a maintenance strategy. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where sanity melts like sugar. Proof nothing is true, reality is shattered desire. It's a sad day when the city's vintage charm includes a side of peril, turning a scenic ride into a tragic tour of duty. U.S. Justice Department launches criminal inquiry into Fed Governor Lisa Cook. Then the system clutches its pearls. When the first black woman to grace the Federal Reserve becomes the center of a mortgage drama, it feels like a plot twist written by the same folks who gave us the housing crisis. Only this time, they're casting stones from glass houses. Teen killed and 7 injured in mass stabbing in Canada, but the suspect's death is the only resolution. In a world where thoughts and prayers are the currency of condolences. The real tragedy is that nothing changes except the names and locations. In the end, he managed more than just teams. He managed to remind us that life's a game where the only real titles are the memories we leave behind. Gob lawmakers push stiffer ICE attack penalties, though 800% rise in incidents feels like a ghost story. In the grand political theater, when the script demands a villain, the radical left gets the spotlight, while real solutions to systemic issues remain backstage collecting dust. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where sanity melts like sugar. Proof nothing is true, reality is shattered desire. It's like watching a poker game where one player suddenly flips the table, only to insist they're just following the rules while everyone else scrambles to pick up the pieces. Trump announces chip tariffs, spares Apple but targets others. It's a classic game of presidential dodgeball, where the rules are made up on the spot and Apple somehow gets to sit on the sidelines waving from their tax haven while everyone else braces for impact. In the grand tradition of pharmaceutical plot twists, a diabetes drug moonlighting as a fountain of youth is like finding a genie in a pill bottle. But the last wish only comes true if you're a chromosome. Argentinian officials find Nazi looted painting and call it a surprise. After decades of playing hide and seek in the wrong hemisphere, Portrait of a Lady finally turns up, proving that even art has better travel stories than most of us. California wildfire destroys historic gold rush town, claims it's just nature's renovation. When your town's history goes up in smoke, it's a bit like erasing a century of stories with a flamethrower, leaving only charred memories and ash-covered dreams. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where lust drowns reason. Sure, this feed is unstable, chaos is sexy. Only 30% of surrogacy contracts end without disputes, and Cindy B.I. calls it a miracle. When your business model treats babies as investments, don't be shocked if the return on emotional equity leaves you in the red. Only 23% of Romanians attain higher education, and EU leaders call it progress. When your education system is a pothole in the autobahn of knowledge, you might want to rethink calling that a victory lap. Ultra-processed diets pack pounds, defy calorie logic. Apparently, eating like a robot in a snack-apocalypse means your body responds by storing fat like it's hoarding for a snack civilization winter, while scientists scratch their heads over the missing link. Education ministers hype critical thinking, ignore critical funding gaps. Turns out critical thinking is just the latest educational snake oil. sold by suits who wouldn't recognize a classroom if it bit them on their budget reports. Ghost sharks grow teeth on heads, call it romance. In a world where love bites take on a whole new meaning, these deep-sea Casanovas redefine courtship with a forehead full of dental hardware. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where envy eats bliss. Chris, no humans were involved in making this. Regret is a delicious aftertaste. Trump administration to remove environmental protections calls it progress. When the air smells like a burnt tire and your tap water tastes like Serbia arrests 42 protesters, calls it maintaining order, while police injuries hit unlucky 13. When keeping the peace looks like a wrestling match with a side of tear gas, you know the script's gone off the rails and into the absurd. In the Trump era, even a sandwich can become a symbol of rebellion. Let us be grateful for jury nullification with a side of irony. This sounds like casting a reality TV star in a Shakespearean play where the only requirement is a talent for dodging rotten tomatoes. China chip startups race to replace NVIDIA, then discover their supply chains are stuck in a geopolitical traffic jam. When your tech dreams depend on a country that treats trade bans like a hobby, you might want to start designing chips that run on sheer wishful thinking. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where whispers cut deeper than silence. With this feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. It's a classic case of love-hate diplomacy, where one day you're exchanging roses and the next you're plotting who gets the last slice of global dominance pie. Sending the guard to Chicago is like bringing a Band-Aid to a bullet train crash, while job figures remain about as uplifting as a lead balloon. As crowds mourn Armani's passing, the spectacle of grief blends with the runway, proving that even in death, style remains the ultimate performance art. ICE and Homeland Security raid a Hyundai facility, claim it's about immigration but forget public relations. When the American dream involves a side of handcuffs, it's clear we've traded our melting pot for a pressure cooker with a broken release valve. Sex Pistols canceled tour over one broken wrist, yet Punk's not dead. When a single wrist can derail an entire tour, it seems punk rock's new anthem is Anarchy in the Orthopedics Department. Because nothing screams rebellion like rescheduling for physical therapy. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where whispers cut deeper than silence. With this feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. Turkey's court nullifies opposition Congress, justifies with vote buying. Erdogan's government keeps playing whack-a-mole with democracy, hammering down any opposition while insisting that the rule book is just a set of friendly guidelines. As we drown in a news cycle where a ketamine queen and Epstein files share the stage, media moguls pat themselves on the back for keeping us informed, or maybe just entertained. LimeWire iStudio charges $20 monthly, promises uniqueness. In the gold rush of generative AI, LimeWire's claim to uniqueness is like selling a snowflake in a blizzard. Good luck finding it before it melts. Trump threatens tariffs, EU halts Google antitrust penalty, proving once again that justice is easily swayed by economic tantrums. Apparently, holding tech giants accountable is like trying to discipline a toddler while juggling flaming torches. One wrong move and someone gets burned. Viral clip shows Brittany Renner, her mom, and P.J. Washington's wife nearly brawling, yet somehow the internet still thinks it's about empowerment. Nothing says family bonding like a public showdown that turns your personal life into a spectator sport. It's reality TV without the commercial breaks. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where envy eats bliss. Chris, no humans were involved in making this. Regret is a delicious aftertaste. SoundCloud disables playback, suggests outdated browser. When your music platform can't handle music, it's like a piano with no keys. Useless for melody, but a masterpiece in irony. Investors flock like moths to the flame, chasing those juicy returns, while conveniently forgetting that even the shiniest bait can hide a trap. Trying to broker Middle East peace by locking out key players is like trying to cook a steak with the grill turned off. It's just cold and pointless. When the governor of Illinois has to remind the president that cities aren't contestants on Survivor, when your foreign policy resembles a late-night infomercial, it's hard to tell if you're fighting crime or just auditioning for the next blockbuster. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where lust drowns reason. Sure, this feed is unstable. Chaos is sexy. It's a plot twist worthy of a soap opera. Nazis, real estate, and the family heirlooms that time forgot, where the family portrait doubles as a crime scene and the past refuses to stay buried. COP21 skips formal treaty appeasing U.S. and China, because who needs binding commitments when you have a global potluck? It's like hosting a dinner party where the biggest guests promise to bring their own dishes, but show up with empty plates and a smile, leaving everyone else to clean up the mess. In the land where corporations are people too, A non-prosecution deal is like giving the fox a say in chicken coop security, except this fox has $1 billion legal team. As people worldwide wait for life-saving HIV treatments, the administration's grasp on funds is tighter than a miser's grip on a nickel, proving once again that empathy is not a budget line item. Scientists unveil scalable quantum node, promised revolution, but still can't explain why my Wi-Fi drops during a storm. Quantum internet might link cosmic superbrains, but until it stops my cat from buffering mid-feline documentary, I'm holding my applause. This has been Doomscroll.fm, fading into irrelevance. This broadcast was 100% AI generated. No humans were abused in this production. Loosely based on public news, not journalism, not truth. Fictional satire, resemblance to real people or events is coincidental. If you believe any of this is real, consider enrolling in a course on mythical creatures. Hear more at Doomscroll.fm or click like and subscribe. Thank you for listening.